All set.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I'm Eric Basta, Business Development Manager for NHMEP, New Hampshire Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Set Your Sales Team Up for Success in 2022. And just to let you know, we are recording today's session. Next slide. I think the one after that, Ken.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay. So anyhow, we NHMEP offers services in three key areas. We do product development, where we work closely with the UNH College of Engineering for designing, developing, and manufacturing new products. We improve manufacturing processes by offering training on Lean, Six Sigma, ISO, geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, and plant layout, just to name a few. And we also help manufacturers reposition their business model to find new clients with our business growth training in the areas of sales and marketing. Okay. As you can see on the map, New Hampshire Manufacturing Extension Partnership is one of the nationwide system of MEP centers linked through the U.S. Department of Commerce and NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. There's at least one MEP center located in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. We're able to leverage a vast array of public and private resources and services that are available to every manufacturing enterprise in the state. Our mission's simple. We help manufacturers in New Hampshire improve their productivity, compete globally, and keep jobs in the state. Next slide. And as you can see, we've served over 700 New Hampshire manufacturers and touched over 11,000 employees who have gone through our manufacturing training programs. Next slide. Our services, as I mentioned before, our services consist of three major areas. The first is operational excellence, where we offer training on Lean, Six Sigma, plant layout, blueprint reading, geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, and lean and green energy services. The second area is workforce development. Here we're part of the Sector Partnership Initiative, or SPI, where we work with middle schools, high schools, community colleges, and manufacturers to build a future workforce in New Hampshire. Every year we put on Manufacturing Month, and during Manufacturing Month, we coordinate school visits to manufacturers in the hopes that some students will make manufacturing a career. Last year we had 1,605 student visits to 45 New Hampshire manufacturers. And keeping with workforce development, we provide leadership training, team building and problem solving, technical skills training, and training within industry. The third area is innovative growth strategies. We offer the Sales Training Collaborative Program, which you're going to hear about at the end of the program today, a custom sales training program, as well as the Marketing Strategies Collaborative Program. We offer quality management system training, which includes the various ISO standards, food safety training, as well as cybersecurity assessments and implementation for manufacturing contractors and subcontractors who perform work for the U.S. Department of Defense. And lastly, we also offer technology-driven market intelligence, or TDMI. Next slide. As for New Hampshire, NHMEP's economic impact, after a client has gone through one of our training programs, NIST MEP, where we receive partial funding, requires us to have them fill out an impact survey. And as you can see from the slide, it shows you the compiled economic impact we've received from our clients in the last 3 years. So that's about it for MEP. Now I would like to introduce you to today's presenter. You're going to hear from Ken Chio, president of our Sales Coach. Ken created our Sales Coach to help companies develop a strategy and execute a sales process that makes sense for their business and provides coaching and training that ensures their success. So now I turn it over to Ken.
Great. Thank you. All right. Let me get back to the beginning here, and I'll go to presentation. So welcome everybody. You know, I really think you all deserve credit for being here because you're putting yourself in a position to gain a competitive advantage. You know, I believe we're never finished learning. And so my expectation is, you know, we're going to give you some really good insights to setting your company up for sales success in 2022. And what a good time for that, really. Now's the time when things are going to hopefully start slowing down next week. And then, you guys can really think about, all right, what are we going to do for next year and what are our expectations? Okay. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So I expect you'll all have ideas that you can come away with that's going to help you to, exceed expectations. And these are things that you can actually take away and apply immediately in your business. I think that the group is small enough so that you can unmute yourself at will and ask questions as they come along, because we're going to be dealing with a lot of different subjects. And what happens is we'll be off on a different subject and you'll forget the question. I'll try to allow some time at the end, but I prefer that you just ask questions about what we're talking about when we're talking about it, because then we can really take a deeper dive into how you can apply it in your business. Okay. I expect, a little bit more about what I expect is that you'll have some ideas about how to really set your sales objectives for next year on real expectations. It's so common. Well, when I first sit down with a prospective customer for me, the first thing I ask is, or eventually I'm asking them, what do you want to see happen for next year? What is your expectations for top line and profitable growth? And it's not uncommon. They'll say, well, we had the best year we ever had last year. We grew at 20%. So, we're not sure what's going to happen with the economy. So maybe we'll expect 10%. Well, what's the magic in that? It's just an arbitrary number. What about, okay, we're going to get, we have certain number of these types of clients in this market, and we expect we're going to maybe get a couple of more of those, or we're going to get one a month. If we achieve that, then we would expect to grow by X number of $1 million, and that's real expectations for market penetration. Okay, or we think we can get more of this penetration in this market. If we do, then this is how many clients we need to new ones we need to bring in. So, have real objectives and a better idea about how much more market you're going to pick up and how you're going to do it. That means you have to really think about what are those markets? Where is the real opportunity now based on what's happening in our marketplace and in our targets markets, so that you can focus all of your resources in the right areas where you're really going to get some penetration. And how to get that penetration really depends on how on target your messaging is. Is your messaging something that really is relevant, that's going to get people's attention and differentiate you in the marketplace? And then what are your salespeople doing to prospect? What are the channels that they're going to be working? And then what's their formula? So if you, I find way too often, that salespeople have quotas, but they have no idea what their formula is. Well, how many deals do you need to have? How many meetings do you need to have? How many leads do you need to generate? And so you have some specific goals for what you can keep yourself accountable to do. And then how do you track that to see that what your expectations that you set, how that really plays out? And so when you're tracking it, you can make adjustments if it's not playing out the way you expected, and not wait till it's too late. And then how do you keep yourself accountable, or how do you keep up with the activity to make sure that you stay on track and you continue to grow, and then set higher goals? So that's the other problem, is that a lot of times people will get really busy, and as you grow, it doesn't get any better. So you end up with that roller coaster effect. So this is what we're going to cover. There's a lot of information. More specifically, what is in your marketing plan for next year? What's in your prospecting plan for next year? How are you tracking things so that you can adjust to the actual results? And then how on target is your sales process to make sure you're not wasting time and improving on a consistent basis on your close rate? Okay, so this is really what we're going to cover. And I'm open into really discussing anything that's going to be relevant for you in your business. So, please feel free to interrupt me. I prefer to be interrupted with questions, and there's no such thing as a silly question. Okay. So first, let's talk about those individual pieces. Marketing, prospecting, and sales, not the same things. They're different. But today, because of technology, they're commingled, right? Marketing is generating awareness. But it's more than that. It's what you do with the awareness that's important, because people need to know you exist or they can't buy from you, right? But they need to be curious about whether or not you can help them with a problem and then decide to engage with you to determine that. Okay. Sales does not start until that has happened. You're sitting down or having a Zoom meeting with a prospective customer, and they're there to determine, do I want to do business with you? And this is important, and it's kind of elementary, but I find salespeople do not understand that. They understand that intuitively, but they don't behave that way. And salespeople are just selling right out of the gate. People do not like to be sold to, they like to buy. And so when you're just pitching right out of the gate, it turns people off and it frightens them that they're going to be sold to or make a bad decision. So marketing needs to engage people with something that they're concerned with. Okay. Prospecting is proactively working channels to get your prospect to that point where they're sitting down with you to see if they want to buy. Okay. And these things are all commingled now. I mean, when I started in sales, when I got my first professional sales job, Google was not formed for 13 years later. Nobody had a computer. The internet was not developed. Al Gore, I think it was a senator. He hadn't got around to inventing the internet yet. The reason I bring this up is when I called somebody, they would want to talk to me because that's how people got their information. Today, what's the first thing you do when you want to investigate buying something? You go to Google. If you don't know somebody that just bought one that you can call up and say, hey, tell me about what you went through to buy that thing, you're going to the web. And that's with social media, with the internet, and with marketing automation today, we're all programmed to do our own research. Okay. And what that means is that the closer somebody gets to a buying decision, the less likely they are to buy from you. Okay? The corporate executive board, when they wrote that book, Challenge Your Sales, they did a lot of research, discovered 57% of the buying decision is made before a salesperson gets involved. What does that mean? That means people are going to be making decisions about what they want, what you can provide, and potentially what your competitors can provide. Okay. So, how many of you have a written marketing plan for next year? How many had a written marketing plan for this year? Okay. And it's important that you consider that, because this is how you're going to, make an impression on the people that you want to do business with. Okay. The first thing really is your biggest competitor is status quo. People are cruising around in status quo, and something needs to happen to get them out of status quo, because the close rate in status quo is zero by definition. Okay. So if you ever got engaged with people who took you through the sales process and decided to do nothing, Well, they never got out of status quo, okay? And, people talk about marketing funnels. They talk about prospecting funnels, sales funnels all day long. What's important really is what's the buyer's funnel, right? Like I said, they're cruising along at status quo, and there has to be a problem for them to want to change. And they would get to the point where they're really trying to understand what is the issue. And if we were to address this issue, what would be our objectives? And what would be our strategy? Okay. Then they start to explore options and they start searching for alternatives. Okay. And then they need to justify making a change, and hopefully you become the new status quo. Okay. So there's a couple of problems with this, in that a lot of times they're reaching out to you when they're searching for alternatives. And as I said, they've already done their research. So they've already made those decisions and they've already been exploring other alternatives. The other problem is when you get to searching alternatives, a lot of times the decision makers are tagging other people to do that cannot make the decision. And so a lot of times we're getting engaged with people that just are collecting information and we don't know what for, but they're not the people that can make the decision. So if you catch them when they're in the green bucket, chances are you're going to be talking to the decision makers and you're catching them at a good time when you can set your company up as the preferred provider. Okay. Whereas if you catch them down here, according to the Aberdeen Group, that's a 16% close rate. I have a client that does medical device manufacturing, and they do, the medical device industry has gotten so bad that a lot of these automotive purchasing people have come over into medical device, and they have a portal that they send out requests for quotes in, and they expect these guys to put together a very complicated proposal. I mean, they have to design the equipment. They have to figure out how they're going to make the pieces that they want in the time frame that they want it. And it takes a lot of time to put a proposal together like that. And they expect them to send that proposal in through that same portal. And I said, well, stop doing that. They're closing 28%. Now they're close to double that. It's like huge. I was talking to a guy yesterday who does some contract manufacturing, and he said his close rate's 1%. I'm like, wow, you're wasting time on 99% of the deals that you look at? That's crazy. And so there's a lot of things that play into that, some of which we just talked about, okay? So how do you catch them when they're there? When they're trying to really understand the issues, trying to evaluate things, and the decision makers are 100% involved in that, okay? If you catch them there, according to Forrester Research, that's a 74% close rate. Now, sometimes the reason why people change providers is because they're not happy. They're not happy with the delivery dates. They're not happy with the quality. They're not happy with the support they're getting. They don't like the person, maybe. They don't like the company. They're outgrowing that business. They can't keep up. All these reasons are good reasons for somebody to switch. The problem with bad experience is you don't know about it until you talk to them. But that's okay. I mean, as long as you have somebody that's being proactive and reaching out to the people that are your ideal targets, you'll find them, okay? You have to be consistent with it, though. Change, these are things that you can see. When there's a new person in a new role, when they've bought a new company, when they've divested a business, when they've moved to a new location, okay, these are things, the first things that companies publicize. They're launching a new product. And you can easily, see when these things are. And so when there's change going on, usually if there's a new person in a new role, they're there for a reason and they want to make some changes. So if that's the case, those prospects go to the top of your list. Those are the ones that you want to reach out to first. The other thing is any legal, regulatory, governmental issues. Those are things that people pay attention to, and usually they're time bound. A lot of times, I know there's one of you, I think. Jason and Zach and Matthew, you guys in labels, for example, in medical, there are regulations, and I don't know if this applies to you right now, but when regulations change on how labels, you have to do labels for medical applications. Everybody has to comply, and so they're trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to comply? As an example, of how regulatory can play into it. Another example, I worked with some solar installers, and the solar industry is still heavily subsidized by governmental grants. And whenever those subsidies change, their business is booming because everybody wants to get in while they know what the regs are. And the reason I got these clients is because, as soon as those regs change, the phone stops ringing. And so I knew the sales manager from a previous life, and he says, Ken, we need your help right now. But the regulations and the potential for them to change is what was drives that business quite a bit. Okay. And so, there's a lot of different resources for you to really keep up on what is happening in the marketplace. Government puts out tons of information, but really a lot of times we're not really talking to our customers enough. Customers really know what's happening in their world because it's likely to be affecting other new potential customers. There's a lot of industry reports, and be selective and pick what's coming into your inbox. Industry magazines, for targets, you can Google the CEO's name and see, have they done any speaking and what are they talking about? Go to their websites. If they're public companies, you can get tons of information from the EDGAR database is the SEC site. If you're after startups, every time a startup gets financed, they have to file a Form D on the SEC site. And, or talk to salespeople. A lot of times, if you're selling to operations people, the salespeople know a lot about what's going on in the business. And maybe some of the things that you can solve for your targets are problems that the salespeople are experiencing. And salespeople, they like to talk, right? Business directories and LinkedIn. LinkedIn has, if you're on Navigator, you can get notified when there's a change, when somebody posts something relative to what you do, or if you happen to be fortunate enough to be able to invest in research, then there's sources like, Cap IQ or Thomson Reuters or other research sites like Gartner or IDC, where you can get a lot of information. Okay. So, I asked before, do you have a written marketing plan? Okay. And now some of you are salespeople, right? And so you might be thinking, hey, that's not my problem. That's more above my pay grade. Well, here's the thing. If you come to your office every day and there's a pile of leads for you to follow up on every day, more than you can handle, well, great. Yeah, you don't need a marketing plan. But if you have to produce your own leads, you need a marketing plan, because that's what marketing is all about, is producing leads. And these are the components for your marketing plan. Who are you going after? What are your markets? Okay. What is it that those people, the decision makers in those markets, really want? What's top of mind? What are they thinking about every day? And then what's that dialogue will related to that will get their attention? And will it differentiate you from your competition or their other alternatives when they do pay attention to it? And how can you deliver those messages with high impact when is it that they're going to be in the buying cycle? What's going on with them? And so what would be your action plan to produce those leads? And, whether or not marketing is your function, if you really have a handle on what these things are, then you can work with your marketing department. Because if you're not getting leads or you have an outsourced marketing team, then you can help them with each of these components so that the leads they are producing are ones that are to your ideal targets. Okay. And I find a lot of times people are, they've been in business for a long time. So they're just out there firing. And they end up catching people in a lot of different areas. But if you have a little bit over here and a little bit over there, you really have no real market penetration anywhere that you can leverage. And, that's okay. But if you say, all right, now I have time to prospect, where are you going to go to get the best opportunity and the most profitable ones? I find a lot of times, especially contract manufacturers, they've got lots and lots of clients and lots of different markets. But if you really look at, okay, then you're likely to end up with not the 80-20 rule. It's more like 90-10. You get 90% of your business from 10% of your customers. So why not figure out, okay, how can we get more of those 10%ers? What do we really need to do? Because maybe you don't need to get a whole lot of those to really make a significant difference. Okay. And that requires proactivity. Okay. So the first thing is, who are you going after? Everybody, all of you guys are in business to business markets. So it could be an industry vertical. So we could say, let's just say aerospace. Well, aerospace could be commercial aviation, could be space, could be radar, a satellite, right? So those are industry verticals within a market, or it could be how do they use your products? What is the application? It could be how people buy, so that you know how to catch them. Could be where they're located geographically. So maybe it's a radius around where you're located, or maybe it's a region. I have a client that makes vessels to hold nasty chemicals that are used in semiconductor manufacturing. And, they're here in Massachusetts. And so when we are talking about where you're going to expand, well, that market is in California. So if you're going to hire a salesperson, are you going to hire one in Ohio? Or are you going to hire one in California? Or, where are you going to focus your energies and resources? Okay. Or it could be, what they produce and how it matches up with what you're really good at. Could be the size of the business in revenue or number of employees or other factors. So, take some time and think about really, who is it that you want to go? Take some time and write down one specific market. Or if that's hard, pick two. Okay. So write down one or two specific markets and try to be as specific as possible. I'll give you a minute. Does anybody have any questions about this exercise? All right, I'm going to pick somebody. Ross, are you there? Ross, can you unmute yourself? Ross Pierce?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Sorry.
Ross, I picked on you. I hope you don't mind, because
No, it's
you
fine.
you have so many different markets that you're in. You know, aerospace, military, commercial, communications, medical, electronic. So what did you put down?
Well, medical was one of the markets that I put down.
Okay, medical. And did you segment that any further by any of these other categories?
Well, something that obviously COVID is kind of a hot topic
Yeah, it sure is.
right now. And a lot of companies are, trying to make COVID related products.
Mhm.
And, I know we're doing some right now. So I thought, maybe that could be something to focus in on, because there's definitely a lot going on with that.
Yeah, and so that is really the products and services part, right? Number 5. It's really what are they making, and then you have industry vertical. Okay, so you could then put together a list of those companies, and maybe also maybe the size, right? Because if they're tiny, maybe that'd be kind of a waste of your time. So they would maybe you'd want to do business with companies that are of a certain size.
Yeah.
Maybe not too big, but certainly not like maybe a $500,000 company, right? And so that's another area. You could also just say, okay, well, how many of them are there? And determine, wow, there's a lot. And let's just focus in New England, or let's focus in the East Coast, right? So, but I think that that helps you to narrow in on how to focus. Okay, so if you were to pick a second one, did you pick a second one?
I did. I know, like 3D, printing, it's pretty specific, is taking off.
Yeah. And so now here is another good reason, right? Because what's happening in their market is providing them a lot of opportunities. And so there's a lot of innovation there. So that's a good reason. Good. Let's see. Let me pick somebody. How about Jason? What did you guys pick? What did you put down?
I did a similar thing related to COVID, because we're seeing a spike in the lab market for test kit labeling.
Yep.
It's a little difficult because we're just a small player in the total assembly, but when we find a client, they certainly are quite loyal, because it's all about numbering, because we do barcode labeling.
Yep.
But that, particularly with COVID, has really spiked, obviously.
Yep. That's actually my medical device manufacturing client. That's what they're doing. They're making COVID test kits. And it's a good thing, because a lot of their other, say, orthopedic or other diagnostic business is now sidetracked again. It got sidetracked, in 2020, because and it's happening now again, because the hospitals are getting full again, and so, but that's okay, because they got more business than they can handle. They're turning it away, right? And so I can introduce you to them. I'm dealing with people on the sales side, but he can let me know who the right person to talk to would be. And again, good reasons, because I just closed a deal a couple of weeks ago with a distributor of COVID test kits. And when I told my salesperson, I said, hey, I just closed a deal with this company that they're selling, their distributor for COVID test kits. They needed sales help. And, yeah, because they haven't sat down and figured this out. It's the Wild West, right? And they're grabbing stuff here, grabbing there. My girlfriend's son works for Google, and they extended again their stay at home. Everybody's working from home, majority of the employees. And the company bought every employee a test kit to have at home. Okay. Think of that. That's, and they're not the only ones doing it. Right. So, now you have to think about this. Then the other piece. So what we've talked about up to this point is really the internal analysis part of your plan is like, what are you guys really good at? And, what are those companies that you are doing business with? What do they really want? And how does that match up with what you're really good at? Okay. And what's that messaging? Then there's the whole other piece, which is the external analysis. And these are some of the things that we talked about in your selection. And it should, like technology, for example. Okay. Has technology affected the printing business? Of course it has. Huge. Right? I already told you how technology has affected my business and sales. Huge, right? Or how people buy. Again, I told you the story about the medical device company and how their customers now are using these portals. If you're selling to health organizations, you weren't doing contract manufacturing, but you're selling direct to hospitals. There's these global purchasing organizations that control everything now. Okay. And so how people buy is important also with technology. Public perception. Some of you are in the aviation markets, right? I mean, I have a client going into the recession, going into the COVID, whole pandemic, that did a lot of business with Boeing indirectly, right? And, right going into, I don't know if you remember this, but as soon as right when the pandemic was happening, Boeing was having some issues still from, the plane that was going down, and the leadership there was just shooting themselves in the foot, and they shouldn't even open their mouth, but it was public perception, right? Target customer groups. What you'll find is you're out there, prospecting in those markets you picked, and you may find, I'm getting some traction over here, but who really needs this are these people over there. I had a client also going into the pandemic. It was a baking company, and they actually hired me because they wanted to get more of their own branded products into more supermarkets. But when the pandemic hit, there were so many people that were falling down on delivery that they ended up picking up a ton of co-packing opportunities, and a lot more profitable actually than selling to supermarkets at low margin. And so, it was just sort of a windfall for them. And, it's just an example of how you could be out there doing business and then finding where there's really huge profitable opportunities. Basic customer desires, right? I mean, again, with the pandemic, it could be, hey, our customers really want better quality. Our customers, they really want better support, right? But, in the pandemic, what they really want is to be able to get the product at all, right? Because with logistics, log jams. I have a client that sells batteries for movie cameras. And there's a 10,000 pound gorilla in that marketplace, and they're falling down. They're not delivering. Only, their lead times are very long if they can get it at all. And so they're really catering to just the big guys, big prospects. So they're picking up all this business from everyone else. Not only that, when they get them serviced, it's taken 4 weeks. They could turn it around in 2 weeks. Well, that's 3 weeks of business that their customers are losing. So if they keep on, and they wanted to grow 30%, they're growing at 45% now. And if they keep on going, they're going to own 50% of the market, and they'll be kicking these other guys' butts. They already are. So basic customer desires. The economy affects everybody's business. And then there's the customer base. How many do you currently have already? And how many prospects are there out there? Is it a big enough market for you? How competitive is it in those markets? And again, any regulatory, legal, or governmental things that are driving people to change. Any questions? So really, it's important that you are focusing, aiming, and then adjusting. And, particularly this applies to both marketing and prospecting, because let's face it, we're all small businesses relatively. We don't have Geico's marketing budget. Can you imagine how much money they spend on marketing? We've got to make our resources pay off. And so, when you focus, you really know if you want to get, medical customers, well, or you want to get 3D printing customers, okay? You're not going to go the same places. Like, let's just say, all right, I'm going to go to a conference and try to get medical device customers. And I'm going to go to a conference, I'm going to get 3D printing customers. You're not going to go to the same place, right? And what they really need could be very much different. What are the problems they're having? So the messaging is different. And when you perfect that messaging, well, when you show up there, they know you understand them. And you become an expert in solving their problems. So, and then other people pay attention to that. And who are those other people? Other people who know dozens of the people that you want to meet, that they can introduce you to, and vice versa. Okay? So there's reasons to focus. And a lot of times people are like, well, geez, you know what? I can't really limit my market. And I'm not saying you're going to do that. What I'm going to say is you want to be efficient with your time, because when you're a little fish in a lot of little ponds, you really don't have anything. When you're big fish in a little pond, you get invited to swim in other ponds. So it's not like, you're focusing, getting tons of traction in the medical device marketplace. And then somebody says, hey, listen, you did a great job for me with the medical device. I got somebody, that makes 3D printing. Can you help them? And it's like, no, I just do medical device. No, right? That's the whole point. And so, we sort of went through the main pieces of the strategy. Then the next piece is, what's the message? Okay. And the message is really, what are the pains they're having now? And what is going on with them that would trigger a change in what they're doing now? And it has to be related with the problems they're having that you can help them with. Okay. Do you help them be more efficient with their operations? Do you help them reduce costs? Variable costs, fixed costs? Do you help them make a better product? Do you help them create their next gen product? Do you help them get more customers like me? That's what I do. Okay. But it's really, salespeople are, always, I ask, all right, so what do you put in your emails? What do you put in your letters? What do you say when you're calling somebody on the phone? Well, I say, Here's who I am. Here's what my company does. Here's how we help other companies. I need some of your time. Okay. Now, what does that have to do with your prospect? Nothing. It's all about you. Right? So, why would somebody engage with that? So you're getting closer if you talk about, okay, what are the problems they're having and how you help them with that. But then they go to that, how we help you, how we help somebody else. And then they throw some name brands at them. What really gets their attention is what they don't want. What's happening with them that they don't like and that they want to change. Okay? What is it they don't want, or they want to eliminate? That's what will get their attention. Okay? And so think about that some. I'm getting a lot of traction with selling to price. Okay? People in sales are always selling to price, not selling to value. My ideal client makes a better product and they deserve more money for it. And so how do you do that? Okay. Think about that. And this is really how you work on the messaging that works. Okay. Then now you know who you're going after. You've got your messaging. Now you build your list. Okay. And I find a lot of times, people are just, they don't have enough prospects. They spend a ton of time trying to figure out who they're going after and what's their list. They don't have enough. You have to go through enough people to get to the cadence that you need, right? And there's different levels of list services. Does anybody subscribe? Well, let me go through them first. So on the lower end, Reference USA merged with Sales Genie, and they formed Data Axle. And then there's, other list services similar, Info USA, Info Free, or a couple other ones. So you can subscribe, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a year to be on their service, or you can just go buy a static list for a few $100 from them. But that becomes outdated. But at least these guys, if you're subscribing, they're trying to keep that list up to date, however they do it. I use an outsourced email service in my business, and they use Hunter.io, but Hunter.io just gives you emails. It doesn't give you phone numbers. Dun & Bradstreet, the next level up, quite a bit level up. So Dun & Bradstreet merged with Hoover's many, many years ago. And then they went out and they bought like OneSource, and they bought Net Prospects. So they have some technology that scrubs the web. And, Dun & Bradstreet also provides credit reports. They can also scrub your list too. If you give them your list, they'll scrub it for you. But they're quite a bit more expensive than these other services. And then Zoom Info, which is even like almost double what Dun & Bradstreet is, but tremendous. I mean, Zoom Info has 300 people who only exist to keep their data up to date. Unbelievable. And so they have really, really good, accurate data. And they also have a lot of resources so they can feed you leads, that people that are looking for what you do. You can get the organization chart of the organization. You can get their phone numbers, very, very accurate, good data, a lot easy to use. LinkedIn, it's a free resource, or you can pay. But the problem with LinkedIn is that, people don't put their phone numbers in, or sometimes they put their personal email address in. But you can find people and you can produce lists of people and companies through LinkedIn. So I don't know, does anybody have any other list services that they use that are, you find to be effective? There are a lot of other ones out there. Okay, so you build your list, and then you put together your strategy. And the problem really with marketing is a lot of people just say, okay, I'm going to start doing some emailing, or I'm going to start doing some search engine optimization, and they haven't really put together their strategy yet. So, then they're like, well, sometimes you get lucky and you get leads. Sometimes you don't. And sometimes you're getting leads, but it's to the smaller deals or people who you can't really grow with, or they don't represent that 10% ideal client. Okay. But once you've put your strategy together, now you can figure out what are the tactics that are best for us to get the attention of the right people. Okay. So you could do direct response, where you've got that targeted list. You could put some offers together if that works for you in your business. Have some response devices, so you could do mailings, for example, or emails, or more digital strategies that will pull people in and be creative with it. Okay. Or you could do more contact marketing, where basically you're sending out something, but your salespeople are the response device. So you're sending like something like, get creative with, like, say, for example, bulky mail, and it's humorous. And so they'll want to talk to your salesperson just because, hey, who sent me this crazy thing? For example, right? Think about it. How much mail do you get in your office today? Right? Not a lot. Even at home, how much mail do you get? And if you take away people who are trying to loan you money and people who want your phone or internet service, now how much mail you get? Right? It's not really a crowded space these days. Okay? Email still works. Social media. All right. So you're on B2B. So LinkedIn's where it's at. LinkedIn is the biggest professional network in the world. And they're all professional. Every Fortune 500 company is there, and it's 24/7. Or just traditional lead generation, mail, email, search engine optimization, traffic to your website, digital strategies. More traditional, just pick up the phone and call people. I mean, cut to the chase. Social media and seminars, trade shows, webinars, and active in associations. Okay. Any questions about marketing? See, I'm doing on time here. Let's see, 10:30. So we have another half hour. Okay, so let's transition into prospecting. Okay, so take a look at this list, and there's basically three parts to your prospecting plan. The first part is, what channels are you going to work? Okay. The second part is, what's your formula? The third part is, how you're going to track to see that you're matching up with your formula. Okay. So take a minute and just write down which channels are you working, and what percentage of your leads do you get from those channels you're working. Okay. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. All right. How are we doing? Let me pick someone different. Todd. Todd, you there? Unmute yourself. What channels did you put down, Todd? Are you there? No, maybe your mic's not working. Oh, okay, mic issues. All right, sorry. Well, maybe we can come back to you. Let's see, who else? How about Kelly? Are you there, Kelly?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Kelly. What'd you put down?
Hi. So what's been working for us, we actually haven't needed to do a lot of marketing for the life of the company, which has been great. It's been mostly our current customers, word of mouth, networking. We just have now started to get back into trade shows again, which has been okay. There aren't as many people going to trade shows as there used to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then starting to make a LinkedIn presence to try and go down that road.
Great. Awesome. So existing customer referrals,
Yep.
and then networking, and then trade shows and LinkedIn. Now, so what we try to get all our clients working 4 active channels. Okay. Now, existing customer referrals is active if you are asking, right? Networking could be a lot of different things. So when I think of networking, I think of you're going to an event. So it's an association related to a market you're in, and then you go to an association meeting or you get involved with that. Or is networking having strategic referral partnerships and having an exchange of referrals going back and forth, not with a customer, but with somebody else that's in the same market as you. So you could do both. And so we call that strategic partner referrals, right? And so now with existing customer referrals, strategic partner referrals, going to networking events and trade shows, that's 4 active channels. Now, you could use LinkedIn more proactively and be reaching out to people and then engaging in a dialogue through the platform, and then taking that outside the platform into email and phone, which would be, so all those could be proactive, and that will work. And what happens is when you have those 4 channels, you find there's 1 or 2 that are bringing in the lion's share of your business at any given time, but the others are feeding it. Okay. So for example, I do webinars like this for myself, but I, promote it on LinkedIn. I promote it through my strategic network, and we do email blasts. So other channels that we use feed into that channel. Okay. Now the other part is the formula. So what is the formula that, and it varies depending on the channels you work, right? So for example, return on invested time, that's ROIT. When you're cold calling, ordinarily it's 2% return on invested time, meaning that you got to talk to 50 people before you close a deal. Typically the best I've seen with clients is 11%. So I had a client that was, closing 1 out of every 11 people he talked to. And, but I typically find, if somebody's cold calling, I have a client that's cold calling, I usually, have them consider you got to do like 12 dials before you talk to somebody. And then, out of those people that you talk to, how many are going to take a meeting, and then how many of those are going to be turned into proposals, and how many of those are going to turn into customers. So you think backwards on it. I was talking to a sales manager client yesterday, and one of their accounts was getting getting a contact for every 4 dials he was doing, which is really good. Okay. And then there's direct marketing where, you're again sending out emails or letters and following up with everyone. You have the benefit being in a B2B marketplace where you can do that. Right. So, if you just say, all right, I got a big list now, there's 1,000 people and I'm going to send everybody a letter, and they don't call anybody. Well, the best you could expect is going from 2% to 3%. But if you are sending as many as you can call and call them all, like instead of 1,000, you send 25 and you call every single one, you can significantly increase the hit rate. Just like if you're very strategic on who you're cold calling, you can significantly improve your hit rate. Seminars, workshops, webinars. So people come to it, you get a chance to experience them, they experience you, and you decide who to follow up with. Networking, where you get the chance to talk to people, ask questions, decide who to follow up with. Referrals, where the person that is your target is said they will take your call because somebody else who they trust has recommended they do that. And then alliance partnerships, where there's an ongoing exchange back and forth of those referral opportunities. And quality introductions, where the person who's introducing you is there physically when you meet the prospect. And when you're operating up there, that's 95% return on invested time. Okay. Now I find that, a lot of people get a lot of existing client referrals. And that's what Kelly said, that's been a good resource for them. But if you rely just on that, it's inconsistent and unpredictable. So you can't really forecast very well your growth. And you need to combine that with some of these other activities to actually get more consistency, okay? Common prospect mistakes, relying just on passive, okay? So on that list I showed you, some things were passive, some were active. Some were more marketing, some were more prospecting. But, passive works. And so here's an example in case you don't know. The good example is direct mail, right? So if you send those 1,000 letters and you don't follow up at anyone, that's passive because you're relying on your target getting the letter, actually reading the letter, and then taking you up on your call to action in the letter to contact you, versus sending 25 letters and calling every single one. Now you're turning that passive activity into an active, okay? And passive can work. Advertising, website strategies, that can work. But you don't want to be relying only on that because it's, again, inconsistent and unpredictable. Being too dependent on a single channel, right? Because it's going to dry up and you get, again, inconsistency. And or devoting enough time to actively prospect on a continuous basis. This is common, okay? You have to have continuous activity, right? And this happens all the time when I'm dealing, a lot of my clients, sales is not their only responsibility. They've got other things that they need to do. And friends, it doesn't get any easier when you doubled your business, right? And, I always say, what's going on? You're kind of light this month. And they're like, yeah, I'm falling down, I'm slacking. I'm like, no, you're not. When you think about how much time does it take from when you first get a lead to the time you get a purchase order? Think about that. How much time usually passes between those two events? Now some people say, sometimes it takes 2 years. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. Those are the people that aren't ready when you first get in front of them. think about the one that is ready, and they engage you in a conversation, and you go through the sales process and you meet with other people, and then you finally get a purchase order, right? What is it, 30 days? 60 days? Let's say it's 60 days, right? And you're having an off month. It's not what you're doing now. It's what you did 2 months ago. So like, what did you do 2 months ago? Well, that's when I got a lot of business and I was busy keeping those new customers happy. Yeah. You stop prospecting. Okay. And you got to find ways to continue and keep yourself accountable for continuing to do at least if you do nothing else, got to do these things. Okay. And it's got to be continuous or you get the roller coaster. Okay. Not having a plan, not tracking and adjusting to the effectiveness of your sources. Okay. And, a lot of times there aren't people in manufacturing companies that are designated for certain roles. Or they decide, listen, we need to get some more people into sales roles. So you just hire somebody and say, now you're a salesperson, go get some business. And I know it's a little more strategic than that, but maybe an account executive that's got to go out and develop their own leads and close their own deals, it's not really what you need. Maybe it is what you need. Right? Do you need somebody to come in there that's going to be sophisticated enough that can go out and produce their own leads, which is the hard work, and then run them through a sales process and close deals? Is that what you need? Or is your biggest opportunity selling more stuff to your existing customers? And really what you need is not a customer service person per se, because they're timid. They're not good salespeople. The account manager who is not afraid to say, listen, did you know we could do this? Or, we're, thinking ahead and planning more business and cross-selling more stuff into your existing accounts. Or do you really need somebody who can do that outbound, that's kind of bulletproof, that can do the outbound prospecting and set appointments for your account executives, the high-priced salespeople you have? Or maybe, and then they can develop into an outside salesperson. Or maybe what you need is you have tons of leads coming in because your marketing's hitting and you got lots of leads. You need somebody that can really qualify those leads and get rid of the tire kickers early on, and then set some appointments for your account executives, right? Or, maybe your biggest growth area is in an area where you don't have people, and your best strategy is to try to find an independent rep, a distributor, or sales agency. And so what is it you're really, what do you need in terms of resources? And to make those determinations is really, okay, how are you spending your time now? How's this person spending their time? Because if there's 20 or 25% of your time in any one of these areas, prospecting for new leads, or following up on inbound leads, or qualifying calls and getting meetings and closing deals, or, in account management, maybe that's where you need to put some more resources. Okay. Then you can determine, because, hiring people into these different roles, they're different people with different qualities, different personalities, different skill levels. Okay. And then what to track. Okay. I find a lot of times people are not tracking the right things. They're not using the data in the right way. Or they say, we tried to use a CRM and the salespeople hated it and they didn't use it. A lot of times it's because they didn't understand how that was going to help them. It just became another thing for them to do, right? Everybody tracks sales. If you made a sale because you got to invoice them. And salespeople track sales because that's what they get paid on, right? Everybody knows that, right? But, are they really tracking how many deals they closed? Okay, they probably do, but you're not using that data. Here's your first ratio. Sales performance is in ratios, just like financial performance. So if you're not calculating your ratios, it's like saying, yeah, you know what, I use QuickBooks, but I never look at my gross margin or my net profit. Right? That's how you know how you're performing. Ratios, same thing in sales. Okay, so the first ratio is what's your average deal size? Because when you calculate your formula, it's based on how many, I want to bring in another $1 million. Okay, how many deals do you need? Well, it's a simple ratio. Number of your revenue divided by the average deal size. And if you find that, you're closing the right number of deals, but your revenue's not there, it's the size of the deals you're getting. So do you need to make an adjustment? Do you need to get twice as many? Or do you need to get bigger deals? And sometimes it's a combination. You need to have base hits, doubles, and triples, and a different number of those. Okay? And you don't want to be a home run hitter because you can't field your team with just home run hitters. You need base hits, okay? So, are you closing deals? If you're not closing deals, then how many proposals did you put out? There's your next ratio. What's your proposal close rate? I think I said before, I talked to somebody a couple days ago, 1% close rate. That's crazy. And a lot of room for improvement there, right? So it's like, okay, if you're throwing out proposals, not closing them, who are you proposing to? How are you doing that? Are you sending the proposals or are you presenting the proposals? And are they going to the decision maker? How well did you qualify those deals, right? But if you're not doing proposals, then it's like, how many first appointments on new opportunities are you having? Because if you're having a lot of appointments and it's not turning into proposals, okay, who are you meeting with? What are you doing in those meetings? What is your sales process? Okay, and then if you're not having first appointments, it's like, or how many contacts are you making? Because if you're talking to a lot of people and you're not getting meetings with them, okay, well, what's the conversation? How are you qualifying them for a meeting? How are you getting the meeting? Okay, if you're not getting contacts, then it's like, what are you doing to produce leads, which is what we spent the whole previous time on, okay? And so this is what you need to track so you know where you're getting stuck. And I just told you how you can determine where you're stuck and how efficient you are at these different points in the sales process and determine where can you improve the most, okay? And then the last piece, I don't want to take too much time. We still have some time. Is sales process. So now you have that meeting. Okay. What are you doing in that meeting? Right? Because as I said before, sales doesn't start until you are meeting with a prospect and they're there to determine if they want to buy. Okay. So you qualify them, right? You generate a little rapport and you start qualifying. You ask about their needs. Do they need what you can provide and why? Right? Then you tell them what you could do, how much it'll cost. Okay. And then it's a trial close. What do you think? You give them a proposal. What do you think? Will this work for you? What reservations do you have? And they say, sometimes that's perfect. Let's go. We're going to buy it. When you don't, that's when you get the first objection. It's like, okay, I really need to check my budget. This is great. Or I'm waiting for another proposal from one other vendor. Why don't you check back with me in a couple of weeks? Okay. So you do that. You check back with them in a couple of weeks, or you handle that objection. And either they buy or they give you the next objection. You know, I just had this big project get dumped in my lap. I really haven't had a chance to pick this up again. I haven't had a chance to look at your proposal. Why don't you call me again in another couple of weeks? Okay. And you follow up, and either they come back and buy, or they tell you they went in a different direction, or they disappear. Okay. Sounding familiar? Now, the question is, if really all they were going to do is disappear in the first place, why'd they waste so much time with you, right? What is it that they really want? They wanted to know what you can do and how much it will cost. That's really what they want. And we know that unless we're telling people what we can do and how much it will cost, we're not going to get business, okay? But the reality is, you've got to qualify them properly, okay? And so, you know, we have to have prospects in the first place, and that's what we talked about. How are we producing leads with our marketing? How are we prospecting proactively to get better opportunities? And how those two things are working together, okay? And then we build some rapport. They have to like you, or they're not going to buy from you, right? And then use agendas to control that process, but help alleviate the adversarial role you have with them as salesperson, buyer, and build trust, okay? And then you start qualifying, but really determine what is the compelling reason for them to change what they're doing. Not the high-level surface reason that they give you. What's the compelling reason for them to switch? And are they committed to switching? That's where you eliminate the do-nothings. And then how would they decide? Who's involved? Who's making the decision? I find a lot of times, I had a client that was, they sell pumps. They're a pump distributor. And they knew all of the building operators in Boston. Every single building that's more than 4 stories has a pump to get the water up. They have sewage ejector pumps. They have fire pumps, you know, and they were out there, you know, they knew all these people. And they're like, hey, I'm glad you're here. Why don't you look at this pump? Give me a quote. And they're giving all these quotes to people who can't make the decision. And they're running around doing this all day long. As soon as we stop doing that, they're talking to better people at a higher level. And instead of throwing out a lot of proposals and getting 25% of them, they're getting bigger deals that are probably 2, 3, 4 times more profitable. And they're lining them up for the entire year. So the same 3 people are doing twice the revenue at a more profitable level now. Same people, no new people, twice as much business, okay? But you have to know who's making the decision, how will they decide, when are they going to decide, and what do they want to spend on it? So if you've uncovered all 4 of those things, your presentation is spot on. And sometimes it's just, okay, what do you want to do now? And then you close the deal, you head off buyer's remorse, make sure you don't get ambushed, and set up an implementation plan so everybody's expectations are met. And you create a loyal customer who wants to tell everybody else how great you are. Okay, any questions about this? Any questions at all? Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to, so that's basically what I had prepared. I hope that you've taken away some good notes and have some things that you can put into action, because the one thing that we do more often than anywhere else is do what we're already doing, right? So what's one thing you're going to do differently? think about that. And Eric mentioned one of the things that we've done with the New Hampshire MEP is we've done a collaboration where we bring at least 4, sometimes 5 companies together, and we work on this strategy for 2 4-hour sessions. So you come away with your marketing plan, your prospecting plan, your referral plan, and your tracking systems. Okay, and then we go to each individual company for a full day, and there we work on actually what is the action plan, how are you executing, how are you what is this? What is the activity underneath the prospecting and the sales process? And then everybody comes back and we do a half a day debrief. So the price is really, really affordable. So if anybody's interested in that, we can get 4 people to do it. It's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot from what you're doing. A lot of times, how many of you been to one of these things and you go away with a bunch of notes and great ideas, but you don't really do anything with it? And this is an opportunity for you to actually go and do it. Do something with it. All right. Eric, you there?
I'm here, Ken. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So everybody, that concludes today's webinar, Set Your Sales Team Up for Success in 2022. Thanks for participating. So just to go over that again, what Ken was talking about is NHMEP's Sales Training Collaborative Program. Ken is the presenter. We're looking at trying to start it up in February, late February, early March. We're looking to try to get 4 to 5 companies to participate. The training sessions, the beginning of the training sessions are 2 half-day sessions. They're done virtually. And then we work with you directly or the client directly. Ken we call them the individual company sessions. They usually run around 9 a.m. to 4. So he'll do each company individually. So again, 2 half-day training sessions with everybody together. Then the individual training session with the company, and then there'll be a half-day debrief session with everybody again together at the end of the program. Pricing right now, it depends on the number of companies. You're probably looking at somewhere around maybe $2,600, $2,700. I have to double check that per company. But you can offset that cost. New Hampshire job training has a job training grant through the Department of Business and Economic Affairs that can offset the cost by 50%. So we can help you try to get that grant if that's something you want to do toward the sales collaborative training program. I will be following up with everybody probably either next week or it would be the week after we get back from the holidays. But if you did need to reach me, 603-724-0802 is my phone number. And my email is ericb@nhmep.org. I did put that in the chat box, so you can take a look at that and get it from there. Last is feedback is very important to us. When I send you the reminders, I sent you a link to our evaluations. I will send that to you again. And that's really about it. So thank you very much for participating in the webinar, and happy holidays to everybody. Thank you.
And if you guys have any questions about anything we went over today, when you're running through it, I think, Eric, you're going to make this video available to people?
Yeah, so Ken will get me the link to the video. I believe it's a link, right, Ken? I think so. Or
yeah, I'll send you a link. And then, if you have any questions, you're going through it, feel free to reach out to me. That's my number there. I really think, I don't know where you can get like 2.5 days worth of training for $2,700. I mean, that's crazy good deal. But, if you want to follow up with me, I'm available. That's my cell phone. Okay.
And yeah, and Ken will also, and send me your slides as well. So I'll just put it all
Oh,
together.
yep, I'll send out slides too. Okay, great.
All right,
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your participation.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a great holiday.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right,
Thank you,
bye.
guys.
Thank you. All right, let's see. How do we?